And as Jupiter enters Leo, something begins to awaken. It's not just, astrological aspect, but has, Jupiter has long been associated with the growth, opportunity, perspective, learning, and it is a very expansive planet. So it will expand on those things. So the fact that Jupiter is in Leo, Leo is, like this lion heart energy. So it's an expansion of that. Leo, is often connected with creativity, generosity, courage, and expressing oneself from the heart. So it is very expansive heart energy. And this is what I call the heart center visionary leaders, the highly sensitive empaths, the star seeds, which is you. So whether or not you follow astrology closely, this combination offers a meaningful invitation to consider where you've been holding back, where you've been stepping out of the ashes of the old version of you, and where life may be encouraging you to step forward with greater authenticity.
Beloved heart, before we begin, I have a special gift for you. If you've been feeling the intensity of Earth's rising plasma light codes and want to stay centered in your body and heart and energy field, I've created a free light language quantum grounding activation just for you. This transmission will help you stabilize, integrate, and align with the new frequencies flowing onto the planet. Simply join my mailing list. See the link that's in the show notes to receive instant access. Let's ground into the light together.
This is the transfiguration of the new you. Hello there, beloved. Welcome back to another episode on my podcast. We have a very good transmission, I would call it, because we're entering into another transit of celestial events that, as we're concluding June and entering into July is going to play a major factor. Aside from the fact that it is Mercury retrograde, that it also started on June 29th. So it's like a mixture of so much celestial, energetic events going on. It's like a celestial storm of energies. And so, and this is an important transit as well. It's not as rare as some of the ones that we just experienced at the beginning of the year, but it is Jupiter entering into Leo. And so the major theme from this is the year that your light becomes impossible to ignore. So from this point on, right, because this is going to last for about a year, but it's going to last for the remainder of 2026. But it's just at this point, it's going to become so impossible to ignore your own light. And that includes bringing up shedding any other layers of shadow that may still be lingering around, any residue, from previous work that you may have done through your own shadow work. So, there's always a deeper way of getting into as we're shifting into our multidimensional aspects, which is more of our authenticity at the soul level. And so, a lot of our dormant DNA is coming to light, literally, because of all the plasma codes that we are receiving from the super active solar sun, with the solar flares and the CMEs and geomagnetic storms. In these past few days, the human resonance chart was again in a very white and spiking field of energy. And I've been observing it now for some time, and it's just become hard to ignore, which is why the light, this is the year your light becomes impossible to ignore. So stick around for this because towards the end, we'll have an activating moment where you can also stay tuned in to this guided meditation, which is really an activation for you to receive the energy from this transit of Jupiter in Leo. And as Jupiter enters Leo, something begins to awaken. It's not just, astrological aspect, but um, has, Jupiter has long been associated with the growth, opportunity, perspective, learning, and it is a very expansive planet, so it will expand on those things. So the fact that Jupiter is in Leo, Leo is, like this lion heart energy. So it's an expansion of that. Leo, is often connected with creativity, generosity, courage, and expressing oneself from the heart. So it is very expansive heart energy. And this is what I call the heart center visionary leaders, the highly sensitive empaths, the star seeds, which is you. Um, so whether or not you follow astrology closely, this combination offers a meaningful invitation to consider where you've been holding back, where you've been stepping out of the ashes of the old version of you, and where life may be encouraging you to step forward with greater authenticity. As I've said, our greatest authenticity is really that we are all multidimensional. And the ones listening to this are really all multidimensional galactic, star seeds. And that's where, it's a return to that, reconnection to that. So many people I speak with, have spent years developing their gifts quietly, studying, healing, reflecting, preparing. But there comes a point where preparation naturally gives way to expression. So this is a time for our expression. And perhaps the season is asking a simple question: what if your light isn't meant to be stay hidden? And today we'll explore what it means to live with greater courage, share our authentic gifts, and lead within the wisdom of the heart. The first half of 2026 has felt transformative for many, especially for me. I felt a tremendous shift in that reached for this month of June was a huge midpoint that sets the tone for the rest of 2026 and moving forward. And perhaps you've experienced, significant endings in your life, unexpected changes, or relationships evolving, ending, or just evolving out of nowhere, major career shifts, a growing sense that old ways of living simply no longer aligns. Change can feel uncomfortable, yet it often creates, space for something new to engage. Jupiter entering into Leo symbolizes an invitation toward expansion, not expansion for the sake of achievement alone, but expansion into a fuller self-expression. So June 30, 2026 till July, oh, I think it's July 26, 2027 that this time frame for this transit is going to be Jupiter in Leo. And for it to transit into Leo, of course, happens I think every 12 years or something like that. It switches, into the sign of Leo. Um, so for me, it's a golden expression. I do really like the Leo energy myself because it does represent that Lionheart energy. And I feel like, it's also a precursor to the Lionsgate portal that, is for August 8th, which is a double eight of 2026. And so, instead of asking ourselves, what should I be? The question really is, what qualities of myself am I now ready to express and embody more fully? And many people spend years minimizing themselves or, declining or putting themselves on the back burner or behind the scenes and focusing more on others than, focusing on self. And so at this point, Leo energy is saying it's time to really, also uh, place yourself in the spotlight. And it doesn't mean to be on stage or anything like that, meaning that, your worth, your creativity. So stop putting your creativity in a back burner or you're, waiting for some permission to act on what you are willing to express at the soul level, which is at the heart of things. What your heart's, desire is that wants to express itself from the essence of your soul, the sacredness of your soul. And, this is, not waiting until you feel completely ready, but growth really waits for perfect confidence. So it's not really looking for that perfection, in other words. Confidence grows, often grows because we choose to take the next step. And courage to me is still fear, it's the action of fear, pretty much. So fear is still there. It doesn't mean that it just gonna go away completely. It just means that there's that brave energy and courageous way of just stepping forward. Many compassionate, intuitive people, like the star seeds, have learned to stay small. And this has been, my personal experience, which is I've also been noticing this with so many others as well, or have expressed to me as well. And so it's not because they lack ability, but because visibility can feel very vulnerable. I mean, you're pretty much being seen. So, yeah, it could feel like nerve-wracking at times. Nervous system can feel a little rattled, especially if you're not used to it or if you've experienced certain trauma. Like in my case, I've experienced so much trauma from past lives. And that's my personal experience from my own remembrance. Some learned early that standing out brought criticism. Others became the peacemakers, the caretakers, the quiet observers. So there's that fear of like the persecution energy is what I call it. It still kind of lingers through the subconscious, which is some basis of deep trauma that has been resonant or distorted energy in our field. And I'm speaking about our quantum field. So some discover their gifts in environments where those gifts weren't understood. Over time, these experiences can create habits of self-protection. So yet there is an important distinction between humility and hiding. Humility allows us to remain open to learning, and hiding prevents us from contributing what only we can offer, which is every single one of us is a unique way of expressing of being of service. It doesn't have to be an entire like whole business or entrepreneur, but it's how you may be expressing or contributing to certain communities or certain societies and making certain changes for rebuilding the earth pretty much, and helping keep it in maintenance for the highest timeline, for the highest good of all. So sharing your gifts doesn't require becoming louder. It doesn't require becoming someone you're not. It simply asks you to become more fully yourself, being your voice, a divine voice expression, your creativity, your kindness, your perspective, and your wisdom. And these qualities matter, not because they make you extraordinary, but because they make you authentically you. Beloved, if you're craving deeper connection, intuitive expansion, and consistent energetic support, join me inside the Frequency Resonance Lounge. This is a monthly Master Heart Circle, moon ceremonies that includes the full and new moon, and a private community for connections. Link is in the show notes. And so, as I've always said, the heart GPS is in essence, where the focus is all about the heart here. Leo is traditionally associated with the heart across many traditions. The heart represents more than emotion, it represents coherence, as many scientific evidence is starting to find, but this has been known through many mystics and ancient civilizations, ancient wisdom that has been passed down through different means. That is now becoming a common theme because that remembrance is still within our own soul. It's within our own Akashic records of remembrance. So the coherence represents, all of this is about integrity, it's about compassion, being present. When we lead from the heart, decisions often become simpler, not necessarily easier, but clearer. Instead of constantly asking, what will everyone think? Begin asking what feels aligned with my deepest value. because I feel like during this full moon that's in Capricorn is really evaluating those beliefs in those areas where we've been operating on thinking what other people may think of us when we are in, you know, trying to express ourselves divinely. There is an aspect of that which will create some form of comfort zone in being invisible, thinking that it's safer because then you don't have the criticism of someone else thinking whatever it is they're thinking of you. Now, everybody's going to have their own perspective on, what they perceive, but it doesn't mean that you have to accept what it is. Of course, we have blind spots ourselves, so it's part of you if you accept to receive that perception and if it resonates also with your heart as well, because the best version of you to know you is really your future aspect, yourself, which I would say most of us have access. No, actually, all of us have access to this, is to connect to our future self and receive guidance because your future self has already gone through a lot of these changes and transformations and moving more into this multidimensional aspect. And of course, many of us, as being multidimensional, there are different avatar states as well that connect to us as well. And that's all part of the remembrance journey because the universe is vast. And so, of course, there will be different aspects of all of this, and just like the multiverse as well. So, the real question really should be what feels aligned with my deepest values? So, living from the heart doesn't eliminate uncertainty. It gives us a trustworthy compass for navigating it. So, making your heart GPS as mostly accurate as possible. So people often imagine courage as fearlessness, but courage usually looks much quieter. It sounds like I'm willing to begin, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to be seen, and that quiet willingness can change the direction of an entire life. Many people assume their contribution must be dramatic, that changing the world requires massive platforms or extraordinary accomplishments. But transformation often begins through ordinary moments, live with extraordinary authenticity. So simplicity, in other words, not there's nothing wrong with simplicity. Um, so a conversation, for instance, a class, a piece of art in your community, or a podcast, a business created from genuine service, a moment of encouragement offered exactly when someone needed to hear it. And your presence carries influence, not because you're trying to convince others, but because authenticity has a way of giving others permission to be authentic too. The more people live in alignment with their deepest values, the more communities become compassionate, creative, and resilient. Your light isn't about becoming the center of attention, it's becoming a source of encouragement, wisdom, and hope wherever you are. So let's get ready for this transmission activation of this energy. So get in your most comfortable position. If you're driving, just listen to this and come back to it so that you can follow along in meditation. And as always, you can always come back and re-listen to this over and over again. I will take short pauses, but you can always pause for longer pauses if you need to for some of these areas. So before we close this episode, I invite you to take a comfortable position. Allow your shoulders to soften. Take a slow breath in and slowly exhale. Again, inhale, exhale. Imagine a warm golden light beginning to glow within the center of your heart. There is no need to force anything. Simply notice the light. With every breath, it becomes a little brighter. It's not overwhelming. It's just steady, gentle, and calm. And this light represents your authentic self. The qualities within you have always been present, and that is your compassion, your creativity, your wisdom, your resilience, your capacity to love. Now imagine this light expanding beyond your heart, filling your entire body. Every breath allows a little more spaciousness, a little more ease. Silently repeat, I choose authenticity over fear. I trust that my voice has value. I allow my gifts and talents to grow through practice. I lead with courage and compassion. Imagine this light extending into the space around you, touching your family, your community, your work, your future. And this is because you're allowing more of who you already are to be expressed at the essence of your soul. Take one final slow breath and gently bring your awareness back into your present moment. As we move through this season, remember this: the world doesn't need another perfect person. It needs more people willing to live with sincerity, compassion, and courage. Whether you see Jupiter in Leo as an astrological influence, a meaningful symbol, or simply an opportunity for reflection, let it remind you that growth often begins with one brave step. And perhaps this is the year you stop waiting for permission, the year that you share the idea you've been carrying, the year you create what you can only create, the year your light becomes impossible to ignore, and not because you sought attention, but because you chose authenticity at the core of your soul, in your heart. So thank you for spending this time with me. If today's episode resonated with you, I love to share, for you to share with someone who may need this as a reminder. So until next time, continue living with intention, lead with your heart. Remember that every act of kindness, courage, and authenticity contributes to a more compassionate world. So this is the year that your light becomes impossible to ignore. Until next time, keep shining your light, and I'll catch you in the quantum field. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to click like, save, and share with others so they can also experience what you just experienced. And stay tuned for some more high vibe episodes. And I'll be connecting with you in the next quantum field. Sending you so much love.